Go.
Welcome to the May 6th, 2025 DVMUG Zoom meeting. We will follow the usual format of news followed by videos, miscellany, questions and answers, and social hour. This week's news. This screen is just to remind me to tell you that this is on the BBS for you to look at, and you can click on the URLs if you want to look deeper into these news items. The following are synopsis of the news items. First item, Apple warns iPhone users to delete this popular app immediately, by Dr. Gracelyn Santos of Gracelyn Santos at StatenIslandAdvance.com. A video issued by Apple on YouTube called Privacy on iPhone Flock warns iPhone users to discontinue using Google Chrome without naming the company. And that URL below is to gain access to that video. The name Flock appears to reference FLOC, short for Federated Learning of Cohorts, a type of web tracking technology that grouped users based on online behavior so advertisers could serve personalized ads without following individuals around the internet. Unlike Safari, Chrome enables advertisers and websites to monitor users' online behavior to deliver targeted ads, a major source of revenue for Google. Apple's video has regained steam following Google's announcement on Tuesday that it will no longer phase out third-party cookies on Chrome, despite previous promises to do so. The April 27th news item from Staten Island Live newspaper by way of Apple News. And next, I'll show you that short Apple video. Well, you can see why they changed Flock, the FLOC to Flock. I wonder how many millions it cost them to produce that.
Probably done on an iPhone.
It's a great video.
Any other comments or questions?
Yeah, there's no, wait a minute. There's no reason to delete Google Chrome from your phone. Absolutely no reason. This is totally misleading. It's a new way to bypass cookies. Cookies are not a bad thing. They remember you when you go away. It's just to send you targeted ads. Doesn't mean you're not going to get ads. They're just going to be random ads. This is not a reason to delete Google Chrome from your phone. That's my opinion.
What about from a Mac or other devices, iPads? Same thing?
Anywhere.
Okay.
This is not harmful to you other than if you don't want personalized ads opposed to random ads. That's the difference. And you're still going to get the ads.
Well, I just use a program called Cookie on the Mac, and I keep the cookies that I need. And every time I quit Safari, it just dumps the rest.
Well, on the BBS, Kenji has put a pretty strong argument in the same vein as John. So you can see it there. Moving on.
I think it's a matter of personal preference. If you're willing to accept all that, and I could call it intrusiveness if I chose. If you're willing to accept all that, fine, keep using it. It does use more resources on the computer than Safari or Firefox, but that's why we got 16 gigs of RAM nowadays. I don't happen to use Chrome myself.
It's misleading. They say you need to delete it from your device like it's somehow dangerous or something.
I agree.
No, but what if you just don't want your own behaviors and choices to be part of what Google uses in general?
That's
Then
it.
delete it or
You
don't.
know,
It
I
doesn't
don't
do
I
it
don't really
doesn't.
want I don't want what I am doing on the internet to be used for any purpose by anybody.
Then delete it if you believe this. This is the problem.
Right.
You don't have it, don't use it.
Right.
If it's sitting there
I
and you're
don't
not
want to
using
help.
it, it's not going to hurt
Yeah.
anything. It's not
I don't
malicious.
want to help that company with that kind of information,
That's
even if
your
it's an
choice.
anonymized.
It's your
Right.
choice.
Yeah, my choice is not to help Google.
So even before this, you chose not to have Google. You don't like them. You don't like what they do.
I use them minimally. But remember, I used to work for Alta Vista.
Oh, I remember Alta Vista.
Yep.
Well,
Well-
I'd like to add something to that. John mentioned Chrome. I over the weekend had to help somebody, a friend, well, help a user re configure his router. Some way, shape, or form,
Mhm.
the router got infected. And in the day of nowadays where there is no cables to connect to a router anymore, and we just couldn't get the web page going correctly. Couldn't get to the settings. Got it going halfway, and then I got the idea of going back, getting my 2008 MacBook Pro, which has Chromium Legacy on it, believe it or not, updating it to the current version. And I was able to use Chromium Legacy, connect that via cable to his router, and reconfigure his router with a new password. Now I couldn't do it on Safari because Safari is totally out of updates for the longest period of time. So I felt that Chromium was a lot safer, and it helped us out, and he's up and running.
Usually, to get into a router, you just type in a website, a URL like 192.168.1.1 or .0.1. It'll say on the bottom of the router, I think, how to do that, and then you can get into all the controls. But I wouldn't monkey around too much in there because there's a
You must have
lot
been
of
using a
control.
very old computer with old Safari and stuff on it. If you had to use Chromium Legacy,
Uh,
right? If you use a
Uh,
modern computer, it wouldn't be a problem.
that was the whole problem. Is it's a modern computer, but we were not able to, or unfamiliar with the workings or operation of that website to be able to get into more settings where you set the password and configure it for, in this case, for automatic up.
Something's rotten in Denmark.
Yeah,
Is the router really old?
router, it could be some could have some years on it. Yes.
I would be more
TP-Link.
I would be more concerned that the router, if it got infected, the router firmware is out of date, maybe not updatable. You need to get rid of that router. If it got infected once, it's open to happen again.
Yeah.
Routers
And
typically manufacturers don't supply firmware updates on a reliable basis, so then they're open to getting hacked, and that's what happened, and you shouldn't use that anymore.
that's exactly what happened. This is a person that has no idea about anything, and it wasn't updated at all. So the first thing that happened when we got into it via cable was there is new firmware out there, and we went
And that worked?
and I went and updated the firmware.
Oh, good.
So he's
That's
had it
good.
for like 10 years or something.
Oh my.
I would get a new router.
Yeah.
Once
If
they're in their
there's-
router, they're in your network. They can get onto your computer. They're bypass the firewall.
Mhm.
In there, then that's not what you want. Is somebody in your router. They're on your network locally.
Does he have telephone service as well through the router?
No, he's got
It's not expensive
oh
then.
yes he does.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's gonna cost you. It'll cost you.
yes he does.
The
And it was just a story. It's strange because he was coming back from Canada, did stuff for somebody in Canada that was halfway here, and on his phone he had a message saying the router has been infected.
Oh my.
And
What was the date of the firmware update? Did it have a date on it?
it did. I just didn't write it down. Yes, it did. It was the most current update to that router,
Well,
whatever
if it was on a
TP-Link is.
current date, like it was, not a 5-year-old firmware update, sometimes they abandon routers. And so if it was a 5-year-old firmware, I wouldn't use the router anymore. If it was this
Yeah.
year's, then maybe it's okay. They abandon routers. They don't want to support old junk. They just give them up. There's a petition you may have seen I put in. I don't know if I posted it on the BBS. I posted it on Twitter and Facebook. So there's a petition out there to sign. There's something that can affect the old Apple airport routers, and they're still out there, even though they were discontinued 10 years ago. I have 2 of them. A lot of people have them. They still work fine, but they haven't updated the firmware in like 3 years. And there's something out there that's can affect them now that other people or newer routers are being updated. And there's a petition to request that Apple upgrade the firmware for these old things because they're still out there working.
Some of the routers can't support newer security protocols, though, and those should be not used, period.
Yeah.
Updating the firmware won't get the features that are on modern routers.
Yeah.
All right, next news item. Apple turns to Anthropic to speed up coding and fix buggy tools, by Andrew Orr of Apple Insider. Apple is no longer treating AI as a self-contained project siloed within its walls. Instead, it's beginning to view outside partnerships as a necessary part of keeping up with rapid advancements in generative AI. Apple has long resisted leaning on outside help for core technologies, preferring to build its tools in-house. But that wall is starting to crack. The company is now partnering with Anthropic to integrate its Claude Sonic model into an upgraded version of Xcode, Apple's software development platform. Now, with Anthropic in the mix and WWDC approaching on June 9th, Apple is laying the groundwork for a more open and flexible AI strategy. The company that once insisted on going it alone is beginning to see the value in collaboration. Any comments on that? All right, next news item. Apple's Q2 2025 financials are solid despite upcoming tariff uncertainty. Apple reported Q2 2025 profits of $24.8 billion, $24.8 billion, remember that, and $95.4 billion in revenue. driven by 11.6% increase in services revenue to 26.6 billion. iPhone, Mac, and iPad revenues also rose, while wearables continued to decline. Despite a 2.3% drop in China revenue, growth in other regions offset this decline. Apple is proactively shifting manufacturing to India and Vietnam to mitigate the impact of potential tariff hikes, which could cost the company $900 million in the next quarter. Fiscal uncertainty? Tariffs are the cause of much of Apple's fiscal uncertainty looking ahead. Threatened early April, after the close of this financial quarter, prompted Apple to fly 600 tons of iPhones from India to the US. Presumably, Apple was sufficiently aware of which way the winds were blowing to ramp up production in India. Any comment on their quarterly report?
Well, Apple, I think, opened 2 iPhone plants in India this last, or about to open them. That's not something they all of a sudden just did. It takes like 2 years to build a plant, but they're coming online. And they say they're on track to move all the iPhones shipped to the United States to India manufactured by the end of the year to avoid this China tariff thing. We'll see.
Yeah. It's interesting. I think their original idea of moving into India and broadening out was just so that if something happened in China, they wouldn't get in trouble. Little did they realize it was going to be because of
Yeah, well, guess what? Something happened.
yeah, but it wasn't
Not what
caused
they
by
thought,
China.
but
Right. All right. Next item, court orders Apple to allow external purchase links in apps.
Okay, go ahead.
A court ordered Apple to allow external purchase links in apps following a long-running Epic versus Apple case. The judge ruled Apple's previous response, which imposed a 27% commission on external purchases, was insubordinate and ordered Apple to allow developers to link to external purchase options without fees or restrictions. This ruling will impact all app developers, not just Epic Games, and could lead to Fortnite's return to the US App Store. The judge concludes her document with this fierce warning. Apple willfully chose not to comply with this court's injunction. It did so with the express intent to create new anti-competitive barriers, which would, by design and in effect, maintain a valued revenue stream, a revenue stream previously found to be anti-competitive. That it thought this court would tolerate such insubordination was a gross miscalculation. As always, the cover-up made it worse. For this court, there is no second bite at the apple. See below.
Can you say the judge was PO'd?
As a result, Apple is going to pay the price. The court has imposed several new rules on Apple, summed up here. First, it can impose no fees on any purchase a consumer makes outside the app and cannot monitor, track, audit, or require developers to report such purchases. Second, it can't restrict the way developers choose to link to outside purchases, not the language, the formatting, placement, flow, or anything else. Third, it can't prohibit any kind of category of app from obtaining the links necessary to make purchases outside the app. And fourth, it can't interfere with the link out of the app in any way other than to have a neutral message that tells users they're leaving the app store to an external site. On May 1st, update, Apple has issued a statement saying it will comply with the ruling, but plans to appeal. Any thoughts?
And they did. Today, the Kindle app has a buy button that takes you to Safari to pay through Kindle with bypassing Apple payment. Pay directly to Kindle, and some other apps did the same thing. They're already approved and working.
All right. European Union fines Apple 500 million euros, which is $570 million, for violations of the Digital Markets Act. Jason Cross from Macworld. The EU fined Apple 500 million euros for violating the Digital Markets Act, specifically regarding contract terms for alternative app distribution and the core technology fee. The White House criticized the fines as economic extortion. Apple plans to challenge the fine, stating it unfairly targets the company and undermines user privacy and security. These are the first antitrust actions under that Digital Markets Act after a year-long investigation into Apple's practices. Apple has said it will challenge the fine. In a statement emailed to Reuters, the company said, "Today's announcements are yet another example of the European Commission unfairly targeting Apple in a series of decisions that are bad for the privacy and security of our users, bad for products, and forced us to give away our technology for free." Any comments?
Sure does away with the old adage, build a better mousetrap.
Well, earlier I told you to remember that there was a profit of 24.6 billion earlier. So the 570 million is irritating perhaps, but I don't think it's going to sink Apple. All right, we move on to the videos. This page is just to remind you that these are on the BBS and they're clickable to the links, and they include little AI summaries of the various items. You'll see them on the BBS.
They're in the chat also.
First item is by Dan of Dan's Tutorials. How do shared albums work on iPhone? Get the full walkthrough. Do you want an easier way to share photos with family and friends? Shared albums in iPhone's Photos app make it simple to create albums, invite others, and even let them add their own photos and comments. It's a convenient way to keep everybody connected and up to date. Perfect for vacations, events, or everyday memories. So that's what you expect to see in this video.
In this video, we're going to look at how we can create shared albums in the Photos app on the iPhone. When we create a shared album, what we're able to do is not only share the photos and videos within that album, but anyone that we share it with will be able to add their own photos and videos to it. You can even make this a public website so people that do not have an iPhone will be able to view that shared album. Now, before we get started, if you like what you see here, stick around to the end. I'll tell you a little bit more about myself and how you can help support my efforts in creating these videos. All right, let's take a look at how we create shared albums in the Photos app on the iPhone. Let's go over to my iPhone. Now, the first thing that we need to do, I'm in the Photos app here. The first thing that we need to do is we need to go to our shared album collection. So basically just swipe up here until you find shared albums. I tap on the name. When I do that, I can see all of my different shared albums. And then to create a new shared album, we just tap on create here, and you're going to see the option to create a new shared album. One thing that you didn't see, you couldn't create a folder. So what we're not able to do, I'm going to cancel here. What we're not able to do with shared albums is put these into folders, just so you know. But what we are able to do is share these with other people. So I'm going to create a new shared folder. So let's just go and create a new shared folder. We're going to call this Disney 2025. And let's just call it shared so we can easily see that it differentiates from the other one. From here, we just tap on add photos, and then I can swipe up. I add my photos. I'm just going to go ahead and add a few of these. If I want to search, I can search. I want to view the ones that I'm adding. I tap on that. I can add them from collections, just like a personal album. So we're just going to go and add a few more here. And I tap on add. And now the next step, so far I've created the album, but I haven't invited anybody to this shared folder, the shared album. So what I need to do is I need to swipe up, and now you're going to see add participants. So from here, I tap on that. I go and add the people. So I'm going to go with Abigail. She has an Apple account. They do have to have an Apple account in order for this to work. It shows up in their Photos album under shared albums. So I tap on that. And now when I tap on done, it's going to send her an invitation in her Photos app. And once she accepts that invitation from her Photos app, she is going to see this shared album. Once I tap on create, I need to create it first. So I tap on it. And now we see we have my shared album. And once Abigail accepts that invitation, she's going to have this exact same album in her Photos app. And guess what she's going to be able to do? Add photos to it, add videos to it. Now from here, we can also create a public link. Remember I said that you needed to have an Apple account in order to view these shared albums. Wonder if you wanted to share an album with people that don't have an Apple account. Well, you can share a public link. They're not going to be able to add any photos and videos, but they are going to be able to view them. So how do we do that? Well, basically what we need to do is we need to long press on it, and being that this is a shared album, we're going to see an option to change the shared album details. Basically, this is where we go and manage it. We can go invite other people to it. We can create a public link like I mentioned earlier. So I tap on that. And then from here, I can set if I want participants to add photos. Do I want Abigail to add photos to this? If I don't, I just turn that off. She's going to be able to view it, but she's not going to be able to add any photos or videos. I can also set if I want to receive notifications. When Abigail adds a photo or video to it, do I want to receive a notification? I like to leave that on, see when people add photos and videos. And then, remember that public website I said you could create? I tap on this. Takes a few seconds. And then from here, what I'm able to do once it gets done here is copy this link and I can share that. It's just going to be a public link. Anybody with that link is going to be able to view it, and they're not going to be able to contribute to it. We can also manage our participants. You want to add more people to it, you can add more people to this shared album. And then if you want to remove someone, you tap on their name. So I'm going to tap on Abigail here. And then from here, what I'm able to do is set if I want her to subscribe to this. I just tap on remove subscriber and she will no longer have access to this album. Now we have another tool here, which is actually pretty important. Resend invitation. Remember how I said when you invite someone, it sends an invitation? Well, in a lot of cases, at least in my experience, they will not receive that invitation or they lose it. They can't find it. So what you're able to do is tap on this and resend that invitation. And then once it's resent, just tell them to go into the Photos app, and then from there they'll be able to accept that invitation. So this is just a nice little tool when someone says, I didn't get that invitation. Just go and resend it. When you are done, you just go back to your shared settings and it's all set. And then before we tap on done, if you want to delete the shared album, you can do that as well. When you are done, you just tap on done. And now you've made any changes, or any changes that you've made will be applied. Now, when people add photos and videos to shared albums, wouldn't it be nice to see that activity? Well, if we look here, when we're looking at our shared albums, so I'm looking at my shared albums here. If we look here, you're going to see that we have a tab bar here, and one of them is called activity. So from here, what I'm able to do is tap on activity, and I can see all of the different activity. So here are all the photos that I added to that album. If Abigail added them in there, I'd scroll up and I'd be able to see all the photos that she added. In addition to that, we can also comment on a photo or like a photo within a collection, and we'd be able to see what those comments are. So how do we do that? Well, to comment on a photo, let's just go ahead and tap on this. Let's say I like that. You're going to see down at the bottom, because this is in a shared album, I can add a comment and I can like it, give it a thumbs up. And when I do that, what it'll do is it will show in this activity here. So you're going to see that now, since I liked it, it shows in that activity. So we can kind of see the activity of all of our different shared albums. It's almost like it's a feed for our photos and videos. There's also a shortcut to go to our personal albums. Remember, I'm looking at my shared albums. So let's say you wanted to go to your personal albums. You tap on personal here, and now I'm looking at my personal albums. I want to go to my shared albums. I tap on shared, and now I'm looking at my shared albums. I want to look at my activity. I tap on activity, and I can see my activity. In addition to that, I'm going to tap on the caret to go back. And just like with personal albums, I'm able to change the view. I tap on the three dots, and then from here I can change it to a key photo. That's actually how I like to view them. So that is how we create shared albums with the Photos app on the iPhone. Basically, what we're able to do is not only create an album that we can share with other people, but other people, the people that we share with, are going to be able to add their own photos and videos to that same album. And again, you can also create a public website so people that do not have an iPhone will also be able to view it. So that's how we create shared albums with the Photos app on the iPhone.
Well, any comments or questions?
It's a good video.
Yes.
I have a question. Are the shared albums stored then on iCloud?
I'm not sure about that.
Because it didn't really show it, that you didn't talk about where are these? Because they're not going to be on your phone.
They're on your computer. I'm not sure you have to have iCloud photo sharing on or off. I don't know if that's, I don't know. I would think you would, but
Where are they going to be so everybody has access to them?
I would guess they would have to be in the cloud,
Yes.
but I don't know. I've never used it.
Okay.
Can you do this on the Mac too?
He is doing it on them. Oh, well, yes, it's you. If you have photos sharing, my guess is you have to have photo sharing turned on because you're in iCloud, because it would sync to your computer and your phone and your iPad and multiple devices and to their device. I don't see how you could do it without doing that.
Yeah. I guess this is an alternative to Dropbox.
And Dropbox is, I wouldn't recommend Dropbox for photo sharing.
I know, but
That's not really photo sharing. You dump things in Dropbox, they exist in Dropbox, and you send an invite for that file.
yeah,
That's not Google Photos, maybe. Google Photos has a sharing app.
I think
Sharing.
Dropbox is an alternative for what Apple proposed.
yeah.
iCloud Drive.
In one of the very first parts of that video, he did something on the Photos app that struck me as interesting. People, when they got the Photos apps in 18, some didn't like the new format, but you should have noticed that he swept below the library, and right there was shared albums. And so that's kind of shows how convenient that can be with that new Photos app. Okay, moving on. Second video is by Gary Rosenzweig of MacMost, 10 easy ways to customize your Mac. Here are some ways to customize how your Mac looks without needing to spend a lot of time. You can change various settings with just a switch or by making a few choices. Go, Gary.
Hi, this is Gary with MacMost.com. Here are 10 quick and easy ways to customize the look of your Mac. So there are lots of different ways to customize how your Mac looks. I'm going to focus here on some that don't take much time or effort at all. So first, the most obvious way to customize your Mac is to change your desktop wallpaper. That's the huge graphic that you see behind everything. If you go to System Settings and then look for Wallpaper, you can easily change this. You've got Apple's dynamic wallpapers, and you've got a ton of these aerial views here. But if you scroll down, you could also just change your desktop background to a color like this, or even just make it black to really kind of have no background at all. You can also choose your own picture, either from the favorites in your Photos app, from pictures in your Pictures folder, or you can add anyone you want. For instance, I'll just drag and drop this image here from the Finder into the box at the top, and you can see how it will use that as my desktop wallpaper now. You can set how it fills the space. If you're good with graphics, you can just create any image you like an illustration or take a photo of something specific, and then use that as your desktop wallpaper. Now you can have more than just wallpaper back here. If you control click, 2-finger click, or right click on the wallpaper, you will get the ability to edit widgets. And you can add a variety of different widgets. For instance, you could add a clock. You could add a look at the batteries for your devices. You could add summaries from news and notes. You could even add your own photos, selecting a specific album and putting it there. So you could put photos of your loved ones right here on your desktop. You can move these around and position them as you like. There are also some settings for this in System Settings, and then Desktop and Dock, and then scroll down to Widgets. You can have the style be monochrome, full color, and you can even use widgets from your iPhone, ones that aren't normally available on the Mac. By the way, if you find these videos valuable, consider joining the more than 2,000 others that support Mac most at Patreon. You get exclusive content, course discounts, and more. You could read about it at macmost.com/Patreon. Now, another thing you may see all the time is the screensaver, and you can customize that. You go into System Settings and then go to Screensaver. You're going to get all these default macOS screensavers, and you're going to get those same aerial views. But you also have a lot of old school things here under Other. For instance, you can choose Photos and then choose an album from your photos library or a folder full of photos. Once you choose an album, you could set how it looks. So you have a variety of different ways that the slideshow that is now your screensaver will present itself. You also could choose some old school screensavers like this one here. And you can see a little preview. You can have the hello one, all sorts of different patterns and things. You can even set up a message to just be displayed on the desktop. You can even use emoji characters there. You can have album artwork from your music library and word of the day as well. Now notice how in apps, each app seems to have its own accent color. For instance, here in Notes, it's yellow. In Numbers, it's green. And in Pages, it's orange. You can customize that. If you go to System Settings and then go to Appearance, you've got accent color here. Multicolor means that each app gets to use its own default color. But if you choose one of these other ones, that will be used in all apps. So for instance, if I were to choose purple right here, you can see now that Settings is now using purple. In addition, so is Notes, so is Pages, and so is Numbers. And while we're here, note that you can control the sidebar icon size. Look here in System Settings and see what happens when I change to large. It also changes in Notes and in other apps as well. Now, there's probably no easier way to change the look of your Mac than simply switching on dark mode. It's just a switch and it really changes everything. So go to Control Center here and then look for Display. Click on the little arrow here and it gives you all the display options. There's a button for dark mode. Click that. And now you're in dark mode. You can see how dramatically everything has changed. Now I want to throw one in here that's not about how your Mac looks, but how it sounds. If you go to System Settings and then go to Sound, you've got your alert sound. And you'll see a list here of sounds you can choose from. So you can just choose a different one of these. But you can also use any sound you want by putting a sound file in the right place. In the Finder, choose Go and hold down the Option key and you get Library. Now go and look for Sounds and go into that folder, and there's nothing there right now, but if you drag AIFF files to this, it will add to the list of alert sounds. So I've just added 2 files here. Now I have to quit System Settings and go back in again and then choose Sound, and now I should see them here. Note, I'm only going to see one, My Beep. I don't see that bell sound here. That's because it's the wrong format. So make sure you use AIFF files, not MP3s, M4As, or something else. Another thing that's pretty prominent on your Mac screen is the dock here at the bottom. You can customize the dock in a number of ways. Go into System Settings, go to Desktop and Dock, and right here at the top, you can change the size of the dock. You could turn on the magnification feature, which is this. You can position it on the right or left side of the screen to look really different. I like to turn on automatically hide and show the dock so that it disappears until I move my pointer down to the bottom. And of course, you can customize what's here by clicking and dragging to rearrange the items, drag up to remove items, and go into your applications folder and drag and drop new items into the dock to make it your own. Another thing you see all the time is the pointer. this little arrow here in the middle. If you go into system settings, you can customize this. So you have to go to accessibility and then display. You can make the pointer larger if you want. You could also change the outline color. So I'll make it a black outline and I'll change the fill to a red like that to make my pointer kind of unique. You also may spend a lot of time looking at Finder windows, and you can change how these look. Of course, you have the ability to view as icons, lists, columns, or gallery. And these settings, as well as most Finder settings, are on a per folder basis. So I'm changing how the Documents folder looks now. Each folder has its own set. But in addition to those basics there, you can go to View and then Show View Options, or Command J. And you've got a lot of controls here. I can make the icons bigger, for instance. I could change the text size as well. If I switch to another view type, like icons, you can see all of the view options change. I can now change the icon size, grid spacing. I could have the labels positioned to the right instead of on the bottom. I could even set a background color or picture for icon view. This is only for icon view, but it certainly can create a different look for a folder. Now, I should also mention you can customize folder and file icons. It's not something I would consider to be an easy change, but if I don't talk about it here, people will mention it in the comments. So all you need is some sort of graphic that you want to use as a folder. You want to open that up in an image app like Preview here, so you can do Command A to select all and Command C to copy the graphic inside the file, not the file itself. Then simply select something like a folder here, do Command I for Get Info, select the folder icon like that, and Command V to paste, and you can see it reflected there in the Finder. To get rid of it, just select the icon again in the info window and press the delete key. And here's another super easy change because it's just a setting, but I think it creates a really dramatically different look for your Mac. Go into System Settings and then go to Accessibility, go to Display, and then look for Increase Contrast. It changes how things look. It has more defined borders. The menu bar and windows aren't see-through anymore, so they don't get tinted by the colors behind it. I think it creates a pretty cool look that a lot of people really like. It's a little retro. Now here's a bonus one that doesn't affect your entire Mac, just one app, Safari. But a lot of us spend a lot of time in Safari. When we create a new window or new tab, we often end up looking at the Start page, like this. There's an Edit button at the bottom right corner of the Start page. And not only can you change what appears on the Start page, but you could add a background image. It may be that you see this background image more than you see the wallpaper. So turn that on, and then you can click on the plus button here and select your own background image. So I'll go and select one of my images here, choose, and now I'll see this as kind of a wallpaper for Safari. So there are a bunch of quick and easy ways to customize how your Mac looks. Hope you found this useful. Thanks for watching.
Well, comments and questions on that?
I have an interesting issue. At the early part of that thing, he talked about putting a widget down in your home screen and that shows the amount of charge on your devices. And I use that same thing as on my home screen on my iPhone, but it only shows the charge status of my watch and the iPhone. It doesn't show the charge status of my iPad, and I can't figure out why. Anybody run into that?
Not I.
Okay, well,
Your iPad set to sync in iCloud?
yeah, and they're all on the same system and everything, all on the same Wi-Fi and everything.
You
But
probably have one of those rare icons.
Maybe you need Bluetooth on?
Bluetooth is on, yeah.
You probably have one of those rare iPads that runs on AC.
It doesn't run on AC, I can tell you that.
So this is the widget you're talking about, right?
Yeah, the widget that shows
not the status on the top, but the widget.
No, it's the widget that comes down and it shows the little circle with the amount of charge on it.
You try reselecting that widget. Go to the library of widgets and put it back down.
Okay. That's all I got. Thank you.
Okay, well, something I noticed on that reminded me that seems crazy, and that is that when you went to settings and went to desktop, um, and there is where you change the browser. You select your default browser. Seems a strange place for it to me, but there's where it is. Next video. Third video is by Tom Wells, Proper Honest Tech. 10 things people hate about the iPhone and how to fix them. I like the iPhone, he says, but it's far from perfect. In this video, he'll explore 10 frustrations about the iPhone and tell you how to fix them.
I think it's safe to say that I like the iPhone. I've made hundreds of videos about it over the years, but that doesn't mean it's perfect. There are definitely some faults and frustrations that come with using it. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through 10 really frustrating things about the iPhone, and more importantly, show you how to fix them. Okay, let's get into it. The Passwords app on your iPhone is an easy and secure way to automatically fill your login credentials when visiting websites. In general, when you tap into a login field on a website, your iPhone should automatically recognize that you've saved credentials for that site. And with a single tap, you can instantly fill in your details without needing to type anything manually. But this doesn't always work. Sometimes your iPhone fails to recognize the saved login and doesn't suggest the credentials that you need. When this happens, you don't need to copy and paste your details manually. There's actually a quick way to access your saved passwords. Simply long press in the username or password field, whichever one you need to fill in. When you do this, a menu will appear and one of the options should be autofill. Tap autofill, then select passwords. This will take you directly to the Passwords app where you can search for the correct login using the search bar at the top. Once you've found the saved credentials, just tap on them and they'll be instantly entered into the login field. I think it's safe to say that most people don't like the Photos app in iOS 18. Personally, I've actually gotten used to it and I kind of like it now, but there is one feature that I hate. Whenever you tap to access a video, the video starts playing automatically, but it does so without sound. This means that you then have to pause the video, tap the mute button to enable sound, scrub all the way back to the beginning, and then press play again just to hear the audio. It's frustrating, it's unnecessary, and thankfully, there is a really easy fix hidden in your iPhone settings. To stop videos from auto-playing without sound, open the Settings app, scroll to the bottom and tap Apps. Then navigate to Photos. Scroll about halfway down and you'll see an option called Autoplay Motion. Disable this feature and you're done. Now the next time that you open a video in the Photos app, it won't start playing automatically. Instead, you'll have to press play, and when you do, the video will play with sound, exactly how you'd expect it to have worked in the first place. I also don't personally like the fact notifications are a key part of the iPhone experience, but if you find yourself getting notifications that you don't want, there are several ways to manage them. You could set up focus modes or do not disturb, but over time you might start noticing notifications from a specific app that you never actually want. Instead of digging through settings, there is a quick and easy way to stop these notifications with just a couple of taps. To do this, swipe down from the top of your screen to open Notification Center, then locate the notifications that you don't want. Swipe from right to left on the notification until you see two buttons, Options and Clear. Tap Options and you'll see a few choices. You can mute notifications for an hour or for the rest of the day, view the settings for that app, or turn off, which will completely stop that app from sending notifications. If you ever change your mind, you can always go back into settings and re-enable notifications for that app. But if you want a fast and hassle-free way to deal with annoying notifications, this is the quickest way to do it. If you're enjoying the content here, why not sign up for my weekly newsletter, which is all about tech news and tips delivered free to your inbox each Friday. Sign up via the QR code on screen or the link in the description. Have you ever gotten into your car, connected your iPhone to CarPlay, and suddenly your device suggests a location that it thinks you might want to go to? This is known as significant locations, and it's your iPhone's way of learning your behaviors and trying to make helpful suggestions based on your routine. For example, my phone went through a phase of automatically suggesting our kids' nursery whenever I got into the car at around 4 p.m. While this can be really useful, it can also be annoying, not to mention that some people might feel uneasy about their iPhone tracking locations like this. If you'd rather turn this off or clear the data, Here's how to do it. Go into Settings, then scroll down to Privacy and Security. Tap into Location Services, then scroll all the way down and select System Services. From here, keep scrolling until you see Significant Locations. It's almost at the bottom of the screen. Tap into this and you'll have the option to disable significant locations altogether if you don't want your iPhone keeping track of this data. Now, privacy on the iPhone is generally very good, and it is worth noting that this information is end-to-end encrypted and isn't shared with anyone, not even Apple. But if you're uncomfortable with it, you can turn it off completely. You also have the option to clear your history at the bottom of the screen. If you tap this, any locations that your device has already recorded will be erased. Unfortunately, there's no way to delete individual locations. It's all or nothing. But at least now you know how to manage it if you ever want to take control over the suggestions that your iPhone makes. A feature that Apple introduced in iOS 17 is the ability to include reactions in video calls, which trigger on-screen effects in response to physical gestures. For example, if you give a thumbs up while on a call, you might see a blue Facebook-style thumbs up emoji appear on the screen. Other gestures can trigger effects like hearts, balloons, confetti, and fireworks. Now, while these effects can be fun, they aren't always appropriate for every call. They can also become distracting, especially if you use sign language as part of your communication. If you want to turn this feature off, you can, but unfortunately, there is no option to disable it permanently. You have to do it on a call-by-call basis. To disable reactions during a video call, open Control Center, and at the top, you should see a button labeled Video Effects. Tap on this and you'll see options to enable or disable features like Portrait Mode and Studio Light, but you'll also see an option called Reactions. Tap Reactions to turn it off, and the on-screen effects will no longer appear for the rest of your call. One of the biggest frustrations people used to have with the iPhone was how incoming calls would take over the entire screen. It didn't matter if you were playing a game, writing an email, or working on a note. As soon as a call came in, your iPhone would interrupt whatever you were doing, forcing you to either accept or decline the call right there and then. Now, Apple actually fixed this a while back, but it's a setting that you have to enable manually, and I still speak to a lot of people who either don't know it exists or they're still dealing with the full screen interruptions. If you want to change this, here's what you do. Go to Settings, scroll all the way down and tap Apps, then scroll again and select Phone. In the Preferred Language section, though why it's placed here I'm not entirely sure, you'll see Incoming Calls. Tap on it and change the setting from full screen to banner. From now on, anytime a call comes in, it'll appear as a small banner at the top of your screen. You can tap the banner to answer or decline, or simply swipe up to dismiss it, allowing you to carry on with whatever you're doing without the call taking over your device. The Mail app redesign in iOS 18 has been a bit like the Photos app redesign. Some people like it, but a lot of people. The biggest change that seems to be throwing people off is the introduction of categories. Your Mail app now automatically sorts your email into 4 groups: primary, transactions, updates, and promotions. It's actually a pretty useful feature once you get used to it. Gmail has had something like this for years now. But if you're not a fan, and you'd rather go back to the old way of having everything in one inbox, you can change it really easily. Just tap the ellipsis button in the top right corner of the Mail app and change the view from categories to list view. And that's it. Your emails will now all show up in a single inbox. If you ever change your mind and you want to switch back to categories, just repeat the process and toggle it back on. Have you ever asked your iPhone's voice assistant to send a message to someone, but you've referred to that person by their nickname and you've got them saved in your phone by their proper name? Your phone obviously has no idea who you're talking about, which is really annoying, but you can fix this. Let me show you how. First, make sure that the person is saved in your contacts. Then open the Contacts app and locate their contact card. Tap Edit in the upper right corner and scroll all the way to the bottom. You'll see an option called Add Field. Tap on this, and from the list of available options, choose Nickname. You'll now see a new field added to their contact card just below their real name. In this field, you can type pretty much whatever nickname you like. Once you've entered the nickname, tap Done to save it. Now, whenever you're using Siri or voice commands, you can refer to that person by their real name or their nickname, and your iPhone will know exactly who you mean. You might have noticed that when you open the Share sheet on your iPhone, the menu that pops up when you share web pages, photos, or other content, your device suggests certain people to share with. These are called Siri suggestions, and they're based on your sharing habits. If there's someone in this list that you don't want to appear as a suggestion, you can simply long press on their contact and choose Suggest Less. Your phone will then stop suggesting them as often in the future. On the other hand, if you find the share suggestions annoying and you don't want them at all, you can disable them completely. To do this, go to Settings, tap Apple Intelligence and Siri, or just Siri if you don't have Apple Intelligence, then scroll down to the Suggestions section. From here, turn off the toggle for Show When Sharing. Once this is disabled, your iPhone will no longer suggest contacts when you go to share something, giving you a much cleaner and less cluttered share sheet. This final tip involves Apple Intelligence, which is why I've saved it until the end of the video, but it does at least partially solve one of the iPhone's biggest frustrations, Siri. We know that we're at least a year away, if not longer, from getting the long-promised upgrade to the iPhone's voice assistant. So in the meantime, we have to make the most of what we've got, and while ChatGPT is not perfect, it is already significantly better. If you have a device capable of running Apple Intelligence, make sure that you've got it enabled. Just go into Settings, then Apple Intelligence and Siri, scroll down to the Extensions section, tap ChatGPT, and turn on Use ChatGPT. You can sign in with your OpenAI account if you want, but honestly, you don't need to. The limits shown on this page are pretty minimal, and most people using ChatGPT like this are never going to hit them. Now, in general, your iPhone should be smart enough to recognize when a query needs to be sent to ChatGPT rather than handled by Siri, but you can manually override this if you want to make sure that it happens. So let's say you're about to ask a question that you already know that Siri won't be able to answer. Instead of asking the question straight away, just access your voice assistant and say Ask GPT, followed by whatever you want to ask. The prompt will go directly to ChatGPT, and you're much more likely to get a proper answer back, making Siri just a little bit more useful in the meantime. So there you go, 10 frustrating things about the iPhone along with fixes for each of them. What do you think? Is there anything you would have added to the list that I didn't cover? Drop me a comment and let me know. And as ever, if you found this video...
Comments or questions?
I like this guy.
A lot of stuff in there.
Yeah, but it's succinct. It's there. Yeah, I mean the first time
There were a number of useful tools there too.
exactly,
Yeah.
and the first time he was on our feed here, I signed up. It's good stuff.
And he goes at a pace where you can actually try some of the things while he's
Exactly.
talking.
Exactly.
He's not going too slow, but he's going slow enough to be able to try them.
Mm-hmm.
He mentioned something early on about the iPhone tracking your location and so on, whether if you wanted to turn that off. One of the things I noticed, and I'm sure you've all run into it too, is that my navigation system on my car, when I get in it, it often tells me, oh, you got 10 minutes to get home. It knows exactly how far away I am from home and how long it's going to take to get there. And that's not my iPhone doing it, it's my navigation system in the car, I think.
I always say challenge accepted. I put in an address and it'll say it's going to take you 35 minutes, and I said I can beat that. Challenge accepted.
All right. Fourth video is Ellen Sweeney, Ellen's Tips for Seniors. Never lose your stuff again. How to set up an Apple AirTag for seniors. I'll show you how to set up an Apple AirTag on your iPhone or iPad. No tech skills needed. Whether you're new to AirTags or need a refresher, this simple guide is perfect for beginners and seniors.
Ever lose your keys or bag and can't remember where you left them? Apple's AirTag can help you find things fast, and today I'll show you how easy it is to set one up using your iPhone or iPad. Welcome to Ellen's Tips for iOS, where I help seniors master their iPhones and iPads. If you find the video helpful, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Let's get started. This is an AirTag, a small tracking device from Apple. You can attach it to your keys, wallet, purse, luggage, or anything you don't want to lose. Your AirTag sends out a secure Bluetooth signal that can be detected by nearby devices in the Find My network. These devices send the location of your AirTag to iCloud. Then you can open the Find My app and see it on the map. The whole process is anonymous and encrypted to protect your privacy. To follow along with the setup, here's what you'll need: an iPhone or iPad with Bluetooth turned on. So if I come into the Settings app and I locate Bluetooth, just make sure that Bluetooth is turned on. You'll also need to sign in to your Apple ID and the Find My app. So this is what the Find My app looks like. You'll also need to be able to get into the Find My app. A brand new AirTag, or if you have one already, you want to make sure that you have enough battery for it to be used. And if you don't, you'll take a battery like this one. This is a CR2032 battery, and you can purchase them from Amazon, and you'll be able to just take the back off of the AirTag and place the battery in. So you'll need either a brand new AirTag or one reset for reuse. And don't worry, I'll walk you through every step. If you're using a brand new AirTag, you'll need to pull the tab on the back of it to activate it. And once you do, a message will pop up on your phone saying AirTag, and you can tap on the button there to connect. So if you're using a older AirTag that you've replaced the battery in, once you replace the battery, that AirTag, if it's been connected to something before, it's going to automatically connect. But if it hasn't, what you'll want to do is put the battery, a new battery, into the AirTag, and don't close the case. What you'll want to do is put the case on and you'll hear a beep. Take it off, put it on until you hear another beep, and you'll do that consecutively for 5 times, and that erases the AirTag. I will put a link in the video description so that to remind you that that's how you do it. It's very simple. But once you have the new battery in or you've pulled the tab, once you do, you're going to see the option to connect your AirTag. I'm going to tap on Connect, and it gives me a list of things here that I can connect, that I can give my AirTag a name. So you can choose one of these, or if you have a custom name that you want to choose, you'll tap Custom and hit Continue, and now you have the option to put in a name. I'm going to tap on Back. I'm going to scroll down until I see Luggage because I'm going to add this to my luggage, and I'm going to tap on Continue. Once I do, you'll see that the AirTag is linked to my particular Apple ID, and you have to agree. So I'm going to go ahead and tap on Agree, and now it's connecting to the AirTag. It may take a few minutes to do this, but it will assign the AirTag to that particular Apple ID, and you'll see that it comes up and gives you some options of how this is going to work for you. Precision finding, you can play a sound to find your AirTag, and you can also share your AirTag with someone else if you need them to be able to help you locate it. I can tap on View in Find My, but we're going to do that a different way. Right now, I'm just going to tap on Done, and my AirTag has been set up. Now that we've set the AirTag up, this is where you're going to find the settings for the AirTag, and if you ever needed to locate the AirTag. I'm going to open up the Find My app, and you'll see right now it comes right into the maps, and I have items highlighted, and that is where you're going to find your AirTags, is under items. I'm going to tap on where it says Ellen's Luggage and come into the settings area of the AirTag. It'll give you, where it's located. you can actually, if you can't find it, tap on it to play a sound. I'm going to tap stop. If it's somewhere nearby and it's not with you, if you tap on find nearby, it's going to locate it for you. But as you can see, when I tap on that, it's going to locate it that it's right next to me. And so I can tap on the alarm sound to try to find it again, but it's telling me that it's right here. If you leave it behind in a hotel, I'm just going to swipe down from the tab here and close that out. If you leave it at a hotel or somewhere not with you, it's going to show you that location on the map. I'm going to swipe back up again. Whoops, let me just tap on luggage, swipe back up again. And you can show your contact info if you've lost your AirTag, so that if somebody else finds it, they know how to get in touch with you. You can share the item location to allow others to locate the item. So if somebody else has an AirTag and you share the item's location, if somebody's in that area, it's going to beep them and then they can reach out to locate you. You can have notifications so that it notifies you when you've left it behind. So if you leave it behind in a hotel, and even if you're just going out for dinner, that notification is going to pop up on your screen and tell you that you've left your AirTag behind or your luggage behind in a hotel, which would be normal if you're just going out for dinner, but it will notify you if you leave your AirTag somewhere that you shouldn't have. We talked a little bit about the battery. It's a CR2032 little cell battery. Apple says it lasts approximately a year. And one thing you should know is that there's a little trick to getting the back cover off. If you push down with 2 thumbs and turn it to the left, you'll see that it'll pop off and you can replace the battery. See, that was pretty simple. Now you can track your items anytime with just a few taps. If you're afraid you might get confused, you don't always have to come back and refer to this video. I've added a PDF download inside of the video when you go ahead and set up your AirTag. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.
Well, any comments or questions?
I'm curious why the sound cut out every once in a while.
You what?
The sound cut out. Like she said, should be talking and all of a sudden there was no sound, then she'd pick up again.
Yeah, I thought that was me.
I didn't have that issue.
Oh, it was John's fault.
Really?
Oh, I thought it was just me. Other people that happened to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that- I noticed it too.
Me too.
Oh,
I mean, I don't think it was anything crucial, but I was just
yeah, it didn't happen here.
Happened here.
I thought it was interesting about the reset of a previously used one.
yeah, I didn't
so-
realize you could do that.
Mhm.
I found that taking the battery out and changing it was a real hassle. It took me forever to do it. It took me so long that I finally lost the darn thing.
Really?
I couldn't find it because there was no battery that was working in it.
Yeah.
I had another one that I tried to do, and I finally got that off. Again, it was a hassle, but then I'm still working to get the thing back on. And I've looked at videos online. I think it's a bad design.
Bring it, make an appointment at the clinic. We'll show you how to do it easily.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think her little tidbit at the end there, like, here, let me show you a little, using 2 thumbs. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty good idea.
Yeah.
Because you have to press and turn, and if you got any kind of moisture on your hand, you're just spinning on top of it.
Right.
Put on one of those rubber fingers you use for thumbing through money or papers.
Yeah, we all got those.
Did you get them?
No,
Amazon, Staples.
I know, but it's just easier for me to lick my thumb and wipe it on my pants.
Go ahead, Jan.
That's a healthy route.
Yeah.
They have to stop talking first. A question, is there a way to know if batteries are getting old?
They talk to you.
Well, I've only had one though, and I got a whole bunch at the same time. And only one has said that it needed to be
You
replaced.
mean the ones you buy, how old they are?
Yeah, well,
When
yeah.
you buy them in the package, they have a date on them.
Are you
no,
One may have
What
been
kind of
used more.
batteries?
One may have been used more.
Jan, are you talking about batteries you buy in the pack or batteries once you enter them in onto your
No,
AirTag?
once it's in the AirTag, I would hope that they would tell me when they're about to die.
Yes, it will. It'll pop up and it'll show you like the battery indicator on your computer when it says low battery. It'll have that little red stripe in it. It does.
Only
that's
one has done that.
That's only when you pull that tab off of it to activate the battery. If you don't activate the battery, it shouldn't tell
It
you
should be
anything.
good for 10 years.
Yeah.
They're good for 10 years?
If you don't use them, apparently.
Yeah.
Huh.
If you activate the battery, it's going to start draining. If you don't, it just sits there inert.
Yeah, well, I have several that are, in operation for a couple of years now.
There you go.
Also, Costco sells them for I think $80 versus the Apple store, which is they're $100.
Yeah.
Is it worth it? I'm trying to get my head around that. $80 for 4? That's
I think it's worth it if you're my wife's not here, so I can speak freely, but she loses stuff all the time. So
all right.
I've got her dialed in with these things now, and it makes it a lot easier to find stuff when she loses stuff.
Yeah, when you travel, it's almost priceless. You know where your luggage is.
Yeah,
right. Or your purse. Or your purse.
So if you know it made the boat, train, or plane or whatever. I used it when I used a cane. I stuck one on my cane. So when I went to the store, I'd put the cane in the grocery cart, and I'd use the grocery cart. And then invariably I'd come out, get in my car, and I'd drive off and leave my cane in there. It would notify me before I hit the edge of the parking lot.
Hey, I guess it is.
A lot of the airlines now will let you, when it's lost, share the AirTag with them. And then so they can find it.
Yeah. We actually lost one in Miami, and we contacted them, and somebody had turned it in. And so they said it's like $23 to ship it to us. And they said, well, go ahead and ship it to us. So you could watch it as it went from here to there to there to there to there. And I use it for my classroom. I said, see how good it is?
It has entertainment value.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our neighbor has one stuck to the cat. Cat wanders around the neighborhood. You can follow the cat's trail around the neighborhood.
Yeah, but was that on purpose or?
Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. The cat goes down the street, has a burger, comes over and visits us. And so when the cat can't find the cat and want him to come in, you can see where it is. And she comes over and looks, and it's up in a tree or something.
Well, that's a good idea.
That's too clever.
Jan's got another.
Yeah, I didn't get what she was talking about when it's new and you take it in, put it in and out in the case. I didn't get what that was all about.
To reset it, that's how you reset it. If it belongs to somebody else, you want it to belong to you. You take the battery in and out 5 times, and that resets it.
But if it's just new and nobody had it before, you don't need to worry about that?
No, you pull the tab and it activates the battery. There's a tab you pull that keeps the battery from touching and working. You pull it out, and then it touches and it starts working.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
It's amazingly simple, Jan.
Yeah, I've got several of them working, and I'm very happy with them. They've saved me many times.
That's good to hear.
My friend just used it at a concert. They each had AirTags registered to them, and they traded them. So if they got lost, they could find the other people at the concert.
Oh, that's a good idea.
It's like, well, where's Joe? Whoa, there he is. Okay, I know where he is, as opposed to
Pretty
you don't
clever.
take any room, you stick it in your pocket.
Or just share your location with your phones. But if somebody doesn't have an iPhone, yeah.
Yeah.
or if you had a kid who wandered off.
Exactly.
They're wonderful for
Well-
all kinds of stuff. Put it on a bicycle that you leave parked someplace, or
You
put
should
it in a
try
woman's
that.
purse,
Have a
you
kid that
know?
wandered off that you wanted back.
Yeah, or put it on your cane. Somebody stole my cane when I was at Sam's Club. I couldn't believe it.
That's what like I said, I had it on mine.
I didn't have one on mine, and it's lost.
Yeah.
But I wonder if that's why I'm always getting, I have one in my car, and it's always telling me when the car isn't with me anymore, but maybe it would have done, I guess that's the only way it would know about my car,
That's
because my
what
car
it's
doesn't have
supposed to
Apple.
do. You forgot your car. You left your car behind. You're
Yeah.
separated from your car.
Hey,
Or
it's a
I've
big
read,
parking lot. You can find your car with it.
I've read about some people who put them in their cars or motorcycles that maybe get stolen, and they can track their vehicle that way.
There
That'd
was
be
a report
great.
that some
Hopefully
police
the person
departments
that
in
stole
the
it doesn't have an iPhone. Otherwise, you get a notice saying you're being tracked by an unidentified AirTag or something.
some police departments gave away AirTags for free on the premise that they could find the stolen cars easier.
Hmm.
Question about Find My and AirTags. Find My gives the information in iCloud.com from like a browser window. Will that work with AirTags too?
Yeah,
Okay.
anything in Find My shows up in there, I believe. Of your devices. I don't think people show up on the cloud, but your devices. AirTag is one of your devices.
Okay.
And the nice thing also, you can change, if you, like she was scrolling through those names like backpack and suitcase and stuff, you can change them. It's you just go in there and say, it's not a backpack today. No, it's my cane, and I'll put a different logo on there so I can find it. It's, like I said, they're handy as heck.
Would one tape it onto a cane? What would you do for that?
I just used my AirTags come with a little loop on them.
Oh,
And my cane had a handle with the loop, so I just hooked it on there like
wow.
like a keychain.
Yeah, those little loops cost extra money.
Oh, spend $1.
Yeah, no, I'm not complaining. It's just that they don't come with that stuff.
Well, mine did.
Oh, well, you got
Trust me, I wouldn't have paid extra for it, so I would have just tied a rope to it or something. It was a temporary thing.
All right, moving on to the fifth video by Greg Rosenzweig of MacMost. Master the Mac Dock in 5 minutes. The dock is an important part of Mac OS that allows you to quickly launch apps and access files. You can customize the dock to include what you want.
Hi, this is Gary with MacMost.com. Let me teach you all about using the Mac Dock. One of the primary tools you need to master on your Mac is the dock. It's this strip of icons that appears at the bottom of your Mac's screen. It's primarily used to launch apps. If you want to launch Notes, just find the Notes icon in the dock and click on it, and then Notes will launch. You can also drag and drop to it. If I wanted to open this CSV file in the Numbers app, I could drag the CSV file to the Numbers icon in the dock, drop it there, and it would open up that file with that app. So if you wanted to rearrange the icons in the dock, you could do that by simply clicking and dragging the icon to the right or to the left. You can remove an app from the dock by dragging it up and then wait till you see the word remove appear above and then just release. Keep in mind that the icons you see here are not the apps themselves, but links to the apps which are in your applications folder. If you remove something from the dock, it doesn't uninstall the app from your Mac. It's still there and you can launch it other ways. Now you can also add apps to the dock. There are many ways to do this. One is to first launch the app. So for instance, I'm going to use Spotlight, Command Space, to launch Text Edit. I'll notice section of the dock. Once it's here, if you want to permanently keep it in the dock, even if the app isn't running, you can drag it to the left and place it on the left side. By the way, if you find these videos valuable, consider joining the more than 2,000 others that support MacMost at Patreon. You get exclusive content, course discounts, and more. You can read about it at macmost.com/Patreon. Another way to add apps to the dock is go to the Applications folder in the Finder. You can click and drag any application and place it here in the dock. The dock also includes an icon for Launchpad. Click that and it will bring up a list of all of the apps installed on your Mac. So with Launchpad, the dock gives you access to all of your apps. The dock also gives you access to more functions using the context menu for each icon. You can get to the context menu by holding the Control key down and clicking on the icon. You can also get to it by using right-click on a mouse, two-finger click on a trackpad. You can get to it by simply clicking and holding, and it will appear there as well. Apps that aren't running will only have a few items available here in the context menu. But once an app is running, you have more options. For instance, TextEdit is running here. And if I bring up the context menu, I'll see recently used documents, currently open windows. Many of these are on my second screen, and other functions like the ability to create a new document. While the left and middle sections of the dock can hold application icons, the right side of the dock can hold files and folders. Let's say there's a file that you access all the time. You can drag that file to the right side of the dock, drop it in there, and then click on it to open that document very easily. If you were to add a folder to the right side like this, then clicking on it will give you a list of the items there, and you can click on individual icons to open those. If you Control click on them to bring up the context menu, you have the ability to display the icon as a stack of other icons or a folder, and you can view the content as a fan, grid, or a list. The dock is also used when you minimize windows. That is, you click the yellow button in a window here. It will minimize to the right side of the dock. If I click on it, it brings the window back. It's a way to hide a single window while keeping other windows for that app visible. Now let's take a look at some dock settings. We're going to go to System Settings and then to Desktop and Dock. You can change the size of the icons here. You can drag to the left to make them smaller, but you can only make them as large as there is space available at the bottom of the screen. You can also turn on magnification, which makes the icons larger as you move your pointer over them. The dock can be positioned on the bottom of the screen, or you can have it say on the right side of the screen or the left side of the screen as well. There's an option here to change how minimize works. If I were to turn on this option here, then minimizes into the icon for that app. Turning on automatically hide and show the dock will hide the dock normally until you move your pointer to the bottom of the screen and then it appears. And show suggested and recent apps in the dock controls this middle section here. If I turn it off, then the running that isn't normally in the dock will appear on the right side of the left section, like these two apps do right now. So now that you know how to use the dock, you should remove any apps that you never use, add other apps that you often use that aren't here in the dock, and then arrange them as you like, perhaps with your most commonly used apps to the left, and then continue to add to, remove from, rearrange, and adjust the dock as needed. Hope you found this useful. Thanks for watching.
Still suffering from sound dropouts.
Yeah, the video froze for a second
Yep.
near the end. Maybe having one on Wi-Fi, Lee.
What's that?
You on Wi-Fi?
Yes.
Yeah, and having some kind of bandwidth issue, dropouts.
Well,
If
all right.
possible, putting it on Ethernet helps.
I don't think that's an option for him. Okay.
All right. Moving on to miscellany, just one item. Thanks to Tom Wells from Proper Honest Tech for introducing this tip of the week. The iPhone calculator remembers your recent calculations. You can potentially scroll back months to find a previous result. If you look to the left here, the first item, when in the calculator, tap the history button on the top left corner. Then from there, you get a screen You simply long press on any result you want to copy. As you can see, there are 3 of them showing. He just picked the top one. You get the next screen, and you can copy from the next screen the expression that you put in or the result. So the iPhone calculator remembers your recent calculations.
Good to know.
Yeah. Very nice.
On to question and answers and social hour.
Are there any printouts for this class?
No.
Just at the beginning, he shows a slide with all the videos and how you can see them at home.
There wasn't anything put into the chat box with the
No,
link.
it's always shown at the beginning, and you take your camera and take a picture of it or a screenshot.
But he said it was in the chat, and I didn't see it either.
No, it's in the
I thought John
BBS.
put it in there.
I don't see anything in the chat.
No. Okay.
You
Sometimes
can come in.
it's done early.
We'll drag it in there.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
If you come
Thank
in
you.
after the meeting, you don't get the previous post. When you asked out in the chat, I reposted them. Look in the chat now. After you ask the question, I put them in there a second time.
I didn't get, they're not in my chat.
Not in mine.
Not mine
either.
There's just 2 messages in green.
I'll put them in again for the 3rd time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, there they came up.
Okay. That's the end of the meeting. Any more questions about the meeting? We'll move on to the public, from the public. So will anybody watching this on YouTube, this DVMUG members, you want to see the next session of Q&A, you can get the link on the DVMUG BBS. So with that, we'll end the recording and start a new one.